sorry about that. Okay, so this talk was pretty much just like training back and forth for the most part, but you basically won every single time anything would happen. And when you took a lot of damage, it was usually because you did something bad or dumb, right? This is fine. Obviously, he dodges in here and you have enough time. You honestly have enough time post the end light because you don't actually do anything for a while to punish him for doing this, right? So you should look out for stuff like that just on your own, but I don't need to tell you that. If someone's going to dodge back into you and give you time like this after to end light 2, you should definitely not be doing a nair like 3 seconds late after it, right? Well, that's fine. So you're still in control pretty much, and you keep it that way till about here, where you get ground pound and then spot dodge, right? And against Scythe, we basically don't ever spot dodge, mainly because it's a terrible idea, and there's nothing to ever gain from spot dodging. For the most part, you're actually playing it fine, right? If you're gonna play against Scythe, especially, all you have to really do is play this area, because you see that the dare won't connect, and if he wants to do this, it should never actually work because you should have hit him. I will say that going for nair isn't really, I don't know, it's harder. I think it's worth going for nair, but to say it's something you can just do isn't a lie. I think here, you should just recovery, because you're not spaced for the nair, and you're not going to be spaced for the nair on 1 jump height, so you should just wake up in recovery. That way you make sure it hits, but that's fine. This is a terrible GC downlight, mainly because he has no reason to be there. And he could have killed you there, but it's whatever. Okay, so this is very rushed and makes really no sense to go for, because obviously there's a weapon throw coming, and even if there was no weapon throw coming, he could have gone in any direction besides the wall, right? So rushing him down like this is just a waste of your ground pound. Yeah. And then that weapon throw sucked, mainly because sword has no reason to weapon throw in this close of range, mainly because it's not going to do anything when it lands, because you're playing sword, right? So usually when sword weapon throws, it's like every other weapon throw where you just want to get them off you or get back to the map. You're really close to him and he has no weapon, so you don't need to do that. And it's a far weapon throw where you want to break neutral, so you weapon throw again and light off, right? But neither of these are the case, so it's just like a blank weapon throw, which is just going to cause you to lose your weapon. When I play sword, and I play primarily sword, I almost never weapon throw besides those 2 situations, because those 2 situations are the only time where it is more valuable than actually just going for a dare or going for an end light. So this guy covers, that was unfortunate, this guy covers every recovery with a weapon throw, meaning that you're either going to contest them head on, directly on him so he can't weapon throw, or you're just not going to contest them at all, and this time you chose to just not go off, which is fine. This GC downlight makes no sense, just so you know. Mainly because he's clearly either going to come at you or go really far away, and if he landed here, I would be confused if this was a plat game. Yeah, okay, so this here is really weird because you've seen him weapon throw you to cover you coming off stage like twice, right? And here you go for a weapon throw, but the angle doesn't really make sense, and it's not clear what you're supposed to do with the weapon throw. Especially since to actually get up to hit that weapon throw, you're going to get hit with what he's doing, right? You're much better off just going all the way around and just dodging any nairs or stairs he tries to put out, because this is it's like jumping into the move he's throwing out, right?
Yeah.
You touch the ground there. Okay, so you have a sword queued up, and you just need to do like one down light recovery to kill him. You just dash spot dodge, so you could have done it there. I would recommend you basically never jump after you get hit, because even at this point in the game, it's pointless. I mean, at this level in the game, it's pointless. So you jump right here, and then you spot dodge for no reason. Even if you didn't spot dodge, same story, you would have jumped into the downlight. There's just no reason to. If you're going to jump, it's because they stayed on the ground and moved forward on the ground. But usually you should dodge away after everything, and you'll be a lot better, especially against sword, because sword isn't going to really chase you down. And now he's doing it over and over again. You actually took a bit of damage here, and I can show you every single time you got hit. That was the brunt of it, but then you move back into the dare, right? You really should just disengage every single time, mainly because you're playing the same weapon, so you're playing with the same advantages and disadvantages in neutral, right? You gain nothing from continuing to fight him, just like he gains nothing from continuing to fight you, but you're literally moving into his hits, and you play the weapon too, so you should honestly understand where he wants you to be, right? Sword's only going to hit you in this kind of scenario from above and below. If you just disengage diagonally, you're in a way better spot. He actually has to move towards you to hit you again, right? And here it just looks like you're scared because you hover around him, and you're not actually going to hit him for anything. Like right there, end light does come out, you land on it because you waste all your jumps, and then you jump again, and then you spot dodge. He hasn't even thrown out a move, and you spot dodge it. So it's just like, at that point you're just like scared. It doesn't really, there's no reason to have that much fear. Okay, so in split-second timing like this, you should really work on being able to tell when they actually hit the ground and not, because it makes a difference to what you're going to follow up with. Like right here, this guy didn't actually hit the ground, which means that you're probably going to want to stare him, especially since in most cases this should leave him a bit higher up. It's not, the end light's just not going to work ever, so usually you're going to go for the stare, or you're going to go for a recovery or something like that, because doing end light will just never hit, and it happens often enough to where you should be able to know the difference. Like this was solid, this is fine, and he throws this to go high and you catch it with this. Another option to catch that is downlight, which is probably better for you, but it's not the end of the world. Should continue off stage there. As I said, he is going to throw his weapon literally every single time. Right now he has no dodge and he's going to jump straight up to throw the weapon. You should just dare him out at the weapon throw. There's no reason to not play aggressive when you have all the leverage in the world, right? So off of this play, right, you get the end light off, it's fine. And then he spot dodges nothing. But this is where you get the leverage off. He dodges down, and instead of continuing off the sideline momentum to actually go off with him, you know he's going to throw the weapon again, you just kind of hold on. There's no reason to hold on. I get holding on when you're like actually even and it's an actual like spot where something could happen, right? But there you have all the leverage in the world, so you should go off with him. Same with this. That was bad, mainly because it didn't need to happen, but also because if he did have that one more jump he thought he would have, there's no reason to ever ground pound. And I would say it. I've played sword for a while. There is very, very rarely a reason to ground pound for your edge guard. Like very, very rarely. You almost never do it. You should always dare, mainly because you can actually just aim it, and it comes out in a better spot.
All right.
Nice. So this is fun because you actually got the amount of damage we're honestly looking for at this point. That's good downlight there, and then the side light is good. You really should be taking these, by the way. If they're going to have no dodge and still be this close to you, like right here he has no dodge, there's zero reason to not move on, especially in a ranked game where if you're already this high in rank and your goal is to be moving on to tournaments, you have to be able to see and take every lead you can get, right? Because there's nothing I'm going to teach you about playing on the stage and stuff like that. You're hitting him what you need to do, but now you actually have to move forward and take stuff like this because you just took his dodge with the side light again, but then you backed off. It's like, okay, now come back on the stage, let's keep fighting. You could honestly have killed him here, especially since from the looks of it you are better than this person a lot of the time because he does stuff like that. You should have recovered high there because you had no options. Going low when you have no options is just killing yourself because you can't make it back if you have no options, so it doesn't make sense to go low. Nice. Okay, that was just a downlight.
Oh.
You need to work on the spot dodging because it doesn't need to happen. Alright, so that game was pretty solid and fast. It started off pretty even, but as it went on, he started making a lot more mistakes and you started making a lot less. You made the same mistakes the entire time through though, and those easiest to point out would be not taking advantages for yourself, right? So usually when something happens and you want to push on, you just don't. It doesn't make sense to not, especially when they're like really simple, really free stuff like that, like this edge guard right here, right? And we already talked about this. But then we see it again on things like when he has no dodge. There's times where I agree to back up, especially if you're like nervous or if there's something on the line besides 15 Ela, right? It doesn't really make sense to not try to push your leads and to try to learn what options are good for you. You only stand to gain from it, especially when, for the most part of this game, you're up a stock and still letting stuff get away from you, right? I already mentioned some punishes that we could have looked at, like over, I think it was like here, where he comes back and then you get the little side light off to go for the, and you didn't go for side lights there, which is one thing you could have done, but you also just probably didn't need to even go for side light. When he dared unarmed and landed, downlight was probably a better option. The GC downlights are fine. This should be pretty simple because I also play swords, so I basically know where you should be and want to be. By the end of this game, you're pretty much winning every single time though. It's just the spot dodges. Spot dodging is weird because you really should just stop in general assuming people are going to attack you. And when I say that, I mean like there's no reason to assume people are going to attack you because there are patterns and waves people play in this game, and since you play Zexus however many times you play him, it'll be pretty easy for me to show you what I mean by that. This should never happen in a game, mainly because this is a pretty big throw, but what I mean by that is people are going to do things consistently, and there are places a weapon can hit you from and can't. So you have no reason to spot dodge someone when they're coming above you with axe, because that means that you were scared and that's exactly what they want. When they're jumping above you, they want you to spot dodge so that they can dare, right? That's pretty obvious and clear, and that's what happens usually, which is the reason you just don't spot dodge, because they're not going to do anything till you do spot dodge. And when they finally do come down and dare you, you can react to the dare and then spot dodge. It's one thing if you're lagging, playing on east from west, that's a different thing. But if you're playing on your own server, you shouldn't have this big of a problem. You should be able to spot dodge on reaction to a move actually coming out, rather than to just spot dodge because you think a move is going to come out.
Alright.
3, 2, 1, brawl!
Okay, so the beginning of the stock is pretty cut and dry, and I would recommend you, if you don't hit or a dodge with the first side light, don't go for down light, mainly because there's no reason to. You're not going to get it, and it just lets you see where they're going to go for next time. This one doesn't matter because he goes off stage. You're hanging this far back the entire time for no reason. You're not going to hit him with anything unless he comes back up and just stares the air, which he does. I will point that out, that he actually does do that for some reason. But it's not actually a smart idea to hold this far. You should either be holding close so you can actually do something, or you should be holding away so he actually gets back on. This range doesn't threaten him with anything unless he literally swings at the air like he does there, right? So it's also just a bad range to hold because you don't do anything with your weapon either. It's just like a dead zone. I don't know why he's jumping so much, but he is. You should walk up to him and end light him, mainly because waiting for him to attack will not really do you any good, because if he just starts waiting too, then you're both in a scenario where no one's doing anything, and that's a weird spot to be in, where it's like, okay, I'm doing nothing but he's also doing nothing, right? So who can do nothing better? But the thing is, he's not doing nothing correctly, and what I mean by that is he is not going to come at you, but he's also just jumping in one spot against a weapon with a built-in anti-air to its kit, right? So let's see how you handle this here, right? So everything, we both get back on, right? And you're facing this way. Turn and end light right now. That nothing happens, right? Nothing happens from it, either of you. Okay, he's jumping and floating again. Stop jumping and swing at the air, and walk up and end light again, right? Right here again, walk up and end light. He's quite literally just going to jump in one spot. Oh, he's doing really weird, really pointless weapon throws. This is where it gets bad for you, mainly because it kind of slowly falls apart after you've racked up all the damage. So this is fine. And now is where you start taking damage you don't need to take. And it's kind of weird because for all the damage advantage you have, and for how his weapon works, especially into yours, you're playing really far away from him. How are you possibly going to hit him with you playing far away against the spear, right? It doesn't make sense. It's like you're waiting for spear to come at you, where spear's entire game plan is to not come at you, right? This movement right here is completely pointless and exact opposite of what you want to do with your kit against this one. Right now you should be pushing towards him. If he's jumping like this and you want to stop that, you just walk up and recovery him. On the ground it's a different story, but we're about to see that. So right now on the ground, you just kind of let him move towards you and hit you. And this isn't even like a fast attack. You've been moving back and forth in one spot since here. And you switched with him and kept moving back and forth in one spot. I never do that unless like I'm here and they're here and we're both doing it. So I don't understand what the mindset is of people that do it when you're actually in the middle of a fight or like close enough to each other, or when they're just messing up and you can actually hit them. The thing with that is like you're both playing slow and you're both looking for an opening, but that's not what's happening here. You're both like he's just jumping, right? And you're zoning out someone who's just jumping. It doesn't add up. You should be able to see approaches made for you, especially when, in all honesty, you should be able to do that clearly on your weapon versus his. Your weapon has nothing to gain from being far away from him. His entire reason to exist is to be far away from you. This is fine, though. He just kind of dies. Okay, there we go. Just end light. Okay, basically never throw your weapon unless it's like some stupid shit, which is obvious. This throws, I don't understand throws like this and what they're for. Like, I agree with wholeheartedly with everyone that weapon throws are broken, but what was that possibly going to do unless it was just to switch to the weapon, in which case you wouldn't move towards him after, right? And light is fine. Should move off there, but he kills himself anyway. Oh, he doesn't, but yeah, you should go off there. Almost any time you see someone's dodge gone, because you're too high ranked to not be edge guarding. Like, you're way too high ranked to not be edge guarding things like this. Right here, you catch the dodge, and he's down to jump anyway. Okay, sorry about that. I left off saying that at this point you should be at least trying to edge guard all the time, especially if you have this big of a lead. But yeah, same story as last time where they have nothing. This only stops you. This weapon throw will only stop you if you are here by the time it goes up there, which means if you go off with him, he cannot weapon throw you. It doesn't happen. He almost killed himself again anyway, and you've kind of cleaned it up here, but you also could have just went over there and dared him when the dodge was finished.
Yeah.
So he has spear queued up, I'm pretty sure, but he's also on an arm. It doesn't really matter. Oh, he doesn't have spear queued up. Okay. But you can usually decide which weapon you keep off stuff like that, like how they've been playing, what weapon they have next, and stuff like that. So if he had spear, it's not a terrible idea to keep bow. Both of the weapons beat unarmed, so it doesn't matter. And if he's just been jumping a lot, it's also a good idea to keep bow. That was a good time to take a downlight, mainly because he dodged here and then side lighted, and it was an aerial dodge, so I'd still be a bit before it came back.
That was bad.
Yeah, you're not counting your jumps.
These weapon throws.
Yeah, they're very not good for you. Okay, so this entire stock has primarily been played by Zexus, another spot dodge for no reason. He kind of decided what was going to happen at every point in the stock, and that's a very bad thing to play around. And what I mean by that is your stock was filled with weapon throws, hitting nothing, and just things that weren't like very even, right? And what I mean by that is there's points where like he'll just walk up to you and then you'll spot dodge and he'll GC a move and he'll hit you because you spot dodged, and you're just kind of hanging on the edge of the entire stock basically. It's straight from the start really. You've just been kind of hanging on the edge and the corners of the map, not really having any stage control at any point. When you finally do get back on, it usually looks something like this, and I would recommend you stop wasting your dodge. Be very good for you. When you switch to bow here, it's weird because the hardest part for bow, especially against something like sword, is when they're actually coming at you, and you've been losing that with sword, so it's only going to get worse with bow. Like you jump too many times, especially it's weird to start jumping now, and the reason it's weird to start jumping now is because he's been jumping the entire time and you've been winning, and you've been on the ground the entire time. But now you're going to start jumping, and you're playing bow, so your strongest position is on the ground, so it doesn't really make sense to jump against sword, especially since sword will just beat you out of everything you do. There he wastes his dodge, and that will be one of the times you can actually move towards him. Instead, you throw your weapon away. It doesn't add up. Punishing dodges. So at a point where you can all do the same, you can basically all do the same combos. Like you guys are going to be doing the same combos. The movement is going to be basically equal, and the movement can get better, but it is going to be basically equal. Your main goal is to punish dodges and take opportunity better than them. All right, and those are the 2 points where you specifically struggle the hardest. Besides weapon throwing for no reason, you hit a lot of moves and then you just don't do anything after you've hit the move, and sometimes he just kind of kills himself and you don't take full advantage of that. You don't make sure he dies, and those are 2 very bad things for you. Here, this entire stock you just play like scared, and he doesn't play scared, so you lose. Confidence goes a long way, and it kind of carries on to this stock. Obviously, this must get better because he's not even dead yet, but good weapon throw. Too many moves coming out that won't hit. If they're jumping like that, you just need to get them out the air. Hitting the ground or trying to catch landings in Brawl doesn't work because there's no landing lag at all. There's like 2 frames, so you're going to hit the ground and jump instantly. So you should be more prioritized around hitting them in the air rather than catching them landing, unless you're playing something like bow or guns. Good job. This is fine. You don't need to start there like that almost ever. Sarah's fine. Sarah's good. That game was like almost just fear and playing scared the entire time, which is very bad because it makes you play worse than you actually are. And I think you notice it yourself that you do not actually look that bad when you're playing other people. Or the first game and the first 2 stocks did not look that bad. The first 2 stocks were slow either way, but they weren't nothing. Like they looked like literally nothing was happening there in your brain. Just clear the weapon because he's going to do the same thing and go for it. as a downlight rather than a sidelight. So when you have this kind of lead, because you've been playing it fine, there's never a reason to die first, and that means that you, for the next like, however long this is, you don't hit him again because he would really just die, and you got hit enough to die before him, right? So we're going to look at every single time you got hit and see why it made no sense. That spot dodge was bad. Clear that weapon. Okay. Spot dodge. You're still here. Move back in. You can either end light, and if he jumps again, you just recovery. Right. See, it doesn't make sense to wait. He can't do anything. Yikes. Okay, that's side sleep. It is whatever. Your weapons don't edge guard with the ground pounds, I hope you know that. So you really should just never ground pound. It sucks. Nice. Good inlight. He has not hit the ground yet. That was good. I will finally say that something you did was nice. And what I mean by that is you at least went off. And trying is always better than doing nothing. Okay, so he has no dodge and one jump and a recovery left to work with. You should aim this better, because obviously you're too high here, but the thing is, it was an attempt. Usually you just don't actually go off, and that's fine. You can kill him here too by staring instead of nairing, but yeah. An attempt will always be better than doing nothing. That GC was scary, but yeah. It's important to actually try, that way you have the experience needed to actually do it, because when you get to the best people in tournament, which is your goal here, it's not just to keep playing ranked. You're already too high ranked to brag about, and if you told someone you were this high ranked, I don't think they would care at this point. But if you want to be in a tournament, your best friend and the best thing you're going to work with here is experience, right? So knowing situations like that and how to take advantage of them is going to be perfect for you. That won't work because he's in the air, but honestly, I would do the second sidelight if I was playing any other character, but if you downlight and second here, he'll die, and you would have gotten the downlight for free. Weapon thrower made no sense. Okay, that was bad. And it's hard because it puts you into this spot where you have no dodge, so he comes at you. Because if you go under, you'll die, and you can't really go over without expending a lot of resources, right? And that's what I'm telling you to do, basically. Because Now you see what it looks like really. If they have no dodge and you go off stage like this, what can they really do, right?
Yeah.
Throwing your weapon there just made you take another hit. Alright. So the thing with Axe in general, and I feel like this too, is that you don't really notice you're losing till you like look back at the HP bar and you've like changed another complete shade, right? But it's pretty clear to see when you look back at it where your damage is coming from and where you're taking it from, right? It's moments like this, and you finally do get a hit off here. There is a kill, but it's fine. It's not the end of the world. This is a weapon throw clash. It's fine. You're still only in yellow, right? And then this happens, and then next time we look at your health bar when you're back on stage, you're in red, right? So it's just a lot of 2 ground pounds and maybe another hit there. The brunt of this happens off stage, and I'm surprised you didn't just die. He took pretty good advantage off you having no dodge, but it was still too much damage, and you probably should have cut your losses and just gone back off stage as soon as this first ground pound hit you. I'm surprised he went too low so you didn't die, but getting hit by this next one because you jumped back off the wall too late, and then that because of the weapon throw is just the opposite of where you want to be in this scenario. And it's already a very far brought out game. This stock gets a bit better for you, but it's still not the best it could be. Weapon throws like that aren't going to help anyone. And it's pretty basic mistakes. For the most part, your fear just gets the best of you a lot of the time. And what I mean by that is there is too often where it's just a dead game and nothing is happening. And you're West and my rank, so if you are on, I'll play with you in a second just to play a game. But I don't actually always usually do that, but it's fine. This has gone pretty far. I mean, this hasn't been that long, so it's fine. I have the time for that anyway. And I will also look at my channel for a second. So this is still ranked, and that's important to remember because it doesn't make sense to be playing that far back in a ranked game. And the reason I say that is because ranked games have no prize, and there is no reason to play that far back in them. So I play this far back when people play this far back, but you can see that I also take everything I get and still push it all the way forward, and I pressure them off stage, and when they waste their dodge like that, I go catch it when they come back, right? Again, no dodge, catch the down light. Bad spot dodge is going to make me take a lot of damage. Even I spot dodge sometimes, and I wish I didn't because spot dodges, for no reason, are almost always bad. But you can see how I never stand still to move back and forth because like I said, it's pointless. But I also push forward every single chance I get. I try to never lose leverage because there's no reason to lose leverage, and that is a thing that you should do, especially when someone wastes their dodge, right? We can see how that killed him in orange.
Yeah.
So this highlight is fine. And this is going to be primarily the same thing for the next couple games. I play Koji in all of them, so it's fine. And Great Sword is a great sword, but it doesn't really matter to me. I think this game I get behind in, hopefully. There's a game where I get behind and have to win, and I will look at that one mainly because playing from behind requires you to do almost everything. So yeah. And I will say that in my time, moving in and out of a person rather than just standing in one spot is way scarier than what you could do standing in one spot. And what I mean by that is when you're standing in one spot, they don't, like, you're not doing anything. I caught that. You're not doing anything, but when you go towards them and then move away from them and then go towards them and then move away from them, it actually requires them to do something, because every time you go towards them, you could actually hit them, right?
Yeah, I've seen people do that against me.
Hi. Okay. Like I was saying, sorry, I got a phone call. Yeah, people do that. If it's way scarier to continuously apply and then remove pressure and then apply and remove pressure than to just hold one spot. Because if you are holding a spot, you are quite literally doing nothing. No one is scared of you holding that spot. At worst, they're trying to figure out how they want to move towards you, but they're not scared of you. That hit me. Yo, that hit me, guys. Now we're talking. Is that far? Bye. Yeah. For the most part, I almost always try to stay close, and that's in ranked though. So ranked is, like I said, different from tournament, and I never like really noticed how much different you play in ranked and tournament till I started like trying really a lot harder in tournaments, and for the most part in tournament it looks more like this, where you do everything little by little, and the game will stay pretty close, but when you finally do get the kill, you can play off that very hard. So I catch the kill like here, and for the rest of the stock I kind of just don't die basically, and that is kind of the difference between ranked and tournament. When you get something, you try to just like play super hard off it. In ranked you should just be practicing the inputs to do when something happens in your favor. So how to properly execute out an edge guard, how to properly execute this and that, right? You shouldn't be scared, because you will lose nothing if you lose the game. And if you are playing scared in ranked, imagine how much worse it'll be in tournament, right? Like how much more scared you'll be, how much more inputs you'll mess up. That's why you make sure that you are solid in rank before you go into them, and that's perfectly fine. Being scared isn't a bad thing. It's just that it just makes you play bad, right? But you have to stop. Like it doesn't just stop there. So. Yeah, for the most part, I will almost never stand still, and I will keep up the damage where I can. And this game is actually at BCX, so it's pretty solid. I think same team thing pretty much happened in this game. I will say that, especially since you play Koji, I literally can't play bow if I'm like not pressing everything correctly, because it starts looking like you're literally swinging Sarah at the air, and it's really bad. And that's what it looks like all the time when you had bow the second game. The second game, it felt like you were swinging at the air a lot. There, for example, I just do Endlight the entire time because he's just going to keep jumping. And that's, for the most part, how I try to aim myself. If I'm playing well, I'll be on the ground for the most of the game, unless I'm playing against like guitars or something where you have to jump. Yeah. So again, you just kind of, if you, like, it's, you're not always gonna go in, but you are always going to keep control of the area. It doesn't make sense to ever give it up. So here I do a pretty good job after this down sig of holding him at the wall because he can't really get through it, and then he ends up dying after the hit anyway. So yeah, it's gonna be slow and it's gonna be steady, but eventually not giving up the control is your best friend. Even if you're not going to hit him, you keep that area just so you can actually have that leverage. It doesn't make sense to continuously be backing up and stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I said, I'll play a game with you. Just send me the room number in chat. But first, I'm gonna pinpoint everything that is wrong one more time. So if you want to write something down, it would probably be this. Your spot dodging is bad. Obviously, you should not spot dodge unless you see something actually coming at you. I think in the 3 games of myself I showed you, I spot dodged like once in the entire bad thing, and I took a bunch of damage for it, and I was like, oh, this is why you don't spot dodge. Because it doesn't actually do anything. It's not helpful. And every other time, your main mistakes are continuing on your pressure that you've already gained, and basically like fear play. Like in this game, you didn't really seem to care about this guy, so you kind of just kept doing whatever you wanted and stuff like this. But you didn't really do any of this stuff against Zexus, right? Mainly because Zexus is playing slower and smarter, but it shouldn't really affect you that much because they got to the point with Zexus where instead of trying to do anything, you just kind of did nothing the entire game. It kind of looked kind of like you were just kind of waiting to see what he could do to you and then avoid it, right? Playing like this is going to be way better even against someone like Zexus. And everyone has weaknesses. Like I said, Zexus jumps a ton for no reason. This doggo is unfortunate for you, but it's fine because it's still Zexus and he's still going to jump a ton. And he does jump a ton. So when someone is jumping like that, you just deal with it by playing around your moves hitboxes. And what I mean by that is Sword Stare. I'm not Sword Stare. Sword Stare is not a move that you should just throw out. Sword Recovery and Nair and stuff like that. But yeah, it seems that was maybe your biggest thing. Lack of experience, fear, something like that. Because for the most part, against the Jira, you did basically everything except take leads for yourself. You kind of held the positions you need to hold, and you didn't play that far away from him. Against Zexus, you played a lot farther away from him, and the reason I don't think that is I think that's a problem is because I have played Zexus, and the further away you play from someone that plays slower is the worse it is for you, because you're both basically, and a perfect example of this is Crocky as well. I play Crocky, and the slower I play versus Crocky, the worse it is for me, because you're basically playing into their game, and unless you're better than the meta, it doesn't really make sense to try to contest someone who's playing slow against you, right? You should primarily try to play at your own speed, then do what you want to do.
Yeah.
Alright. So I think that's all I'm gonna get from replays at least. So.
Alright. So